and welcome to our Prenatal Alliance Sunday Live. Today we have with us a very special person, Jenny Kozlow. And Jenny, you are going to speak to us about our role as professionals when working with couples expecting a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And you work with professionals who do exactly that. Tell us about you.
Thank you, Laura, for inviting me, and I'm so pleased to be a part of the Prenatal Alliance. I think the work is so wonderful, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. I am a traditional, conventional childbirth educator, like the way we were trained to be back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the world has changed so much. I find that we're still teaching kind of in a conventional way. And I started to observe a lot of prenatal education courses, and I noticed that they weren't really being as effective as they could be. And even though theoretically, a lot of organizations talked about the changes that needed to happen to become part of the technological world and to be updated in our profession. In practice, I don't see that really happening. And I find that there's a tremendous, we're just not really meeting the needs of couples in today's world. So
Could you give us an example? What has changed suddenly? These last 20 years have gone by so quickly, at least for me. And what is different now in this scenery of
well,
birth?
for one thing, we think of ourselves mainly as, we think of our role as being information givers.
Mm-hmm.
And couples come to us with so much information already. They have access to so much information that basically we're wasting their time telling them things that they probably already know. And so if we keep doing that, that's why a lot of people feel that preparation courses aren't really necessary. And there's this tremendous disconnection with the reality of what couples are experiencing. They're very disconnected with what their body is experiencing. Many women, when they're pregnant, almost experience it as if their belly is growing without even realizing it's a baby that's growing. It's not the belly. And that they want to continue their life as if nothing has changed. And it's just kind of like one more thing on their list, on their to-do list, to have a baby, without really comprehending the complexity of what they're experiencing. So there's a disconnect, there's a lot of information, and then we don't have the discernment skills to know what to do with all that information. And much of it is negative. And we know that when we present things in a negative way, almost like in a threatening way, rather than piquing their interest, which is our role to create curiosity in our students, it actually turns them off and they shut down and they don't want to know more about it. For example, if we say that inducing labor will make it possibly more painful, instead of thinking that, oh, because they hear that, they will try and avoid an induction, they just don't want to know anything about inductions. They just want to, they'll gravitate toward things that make them feel that they can handle it. They don't want to hear about things that frighten them. They have enough of that.
You said an important word. You said disconnect from our body. Our culture would like us to disconnect. You see, sometimes some commercials of some medicines for a backache, for a stomach ache, but you don't see the person saying, why is my back aching? Or why do I have this stomach ache? Can I do something different? No, the medicine will do the job. So the disconnection, a headache is just you take a pill and you'll be feeling better. Not trying to know why and who your body is, what kind of information is this headache giving you. So it's true, when it comes to babies, some women only realize fully that they are pregnant.
Right. It's this amazing opportunity, because even though many couples will feel that it's a physical expanding because the baby needs room, what they're noticing, and they can't avoid, is that they're also expanding on different levels. Their heart is expanding. Their sensitivity toward things is expanding. They're sensing and smelling and noticing things that they weren't noticing before. So this wonderful opening is happening. So we have this beautiful experience, this creative experience going on. And then they, especially if it's their first child, they're very aware that they don't have the experience, and they want to be responsible parents, but they don't have the skills, and they know they don't have the skills. I mean, yes, they have intuition, yes, they have good instincts, but they don't realize that they do. So they come to us as professionals asking for guidance. And imagine the potential we have to enhance that experience for them. So what I talk about when I work with maternity healthcare professionals is to recognize the power we have, and to not be egocentric and keep it to ourselves, but use that authority to transfer it back to them.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. Yes, you're not there to empower. They have the power, but professionals seem to keep that power for themselves. Just that generosity of soul can help the outcome of physical things that are happening.
Totally, totally. So when you have that combination of this translucent sensitivity and vulnerability in this couple, and you have this professional, we want the professional to see in herself or himself those same qualities, and reflect back to the couple what they know that couple is capable of, but they have forgotten. And so it starts with us realizing that we ourselves can show our vulnerability. So we are models. I've developed a whole communication and teaching method that basically is founded on using vulnerability as a strength, and using it. You know, we're so multi-faceted as experts in prenatal education, because we know about so many things, nutrition and physiotherapy, and we know about physiology, and we know about psychology, and we know about there's just so many things we know. But if we don't have the communication skills to transmit the essence of it in a way that the couple can use it to have an actual movement, inner movement in them, so that it produces a more positive outcome. I mean, talking and talking, what's the point, And so a lot of what the method uses, and when I observe professionals and then I evaluate them, I tell them things that they really don't want to hear, because it's taking them out of their comfort zone. I'm saying that they need to talk less. And because they want to add so many new things, they want to use the rebozo, and they want to talk about perineal massage, and they want to talk about, and all these great things. They're wonderful, but many of them are skipping the basics. And the basics aren't being taught in a way that couples can interiorize and integrate. So a lot of the method that I use is about integration. So
yes, then do you address this simple dimension that all of us were born? So we've done that journey, that voyage from cell to baby in 9 months, in 10 months, in 8 months, inside a woman. So in a way, we're all PhDs. We have accomplished it. This is our work of the end of the formation. We have a body, we made it. But some professionals seem to forget it, and they don't know how alive their birth is, still pulsating in them. Not every birth professional, even good ones, have looked into how they came on earth, what is imprinted in them.
A lot of times the being realistic is we're not given the time that we used to have to really develop relationships with our students, our couples, our clients. And so we have this stress of trying to transmit something of value, but we have less time, and we have couples who aren't really They might be coming to us for the wrong reasons. They're blocked in a lot of ways. And so by using certain techniques to transition in so that the couple in front of you is open to hearing what you have to say. I mean, you have to have their attention first, right? You can't impose what you want them to learn when you want them to learn it. So you first have to kind of respect the space that you create. And when they're ready and they show you that they're ready to be open to learning these things, then you proceed. And we can take them on a journey with the way we communicate. We can take them back and ask them if they know what when their parents knew that they were expecting him or her, whether they knew if it was what have they been told about it. You know, was it a surprise? Was it expected? You know, we can take them back to their parents. We can take them back to their own birth. There's lots of ways where we can use things like open-ended questions and provocative strategies where we just present to them questions that they've never been asked before. And if they feel safe with us, it's amazing. They actually oftentimes will say, you know, I don't even know about my own birth, you know, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to ask about it. So, you know, again, the potential we have as that person that they confide in, that they want to receive certain guidance during this time in their life that's so extraordinary, we can actually take them on a journey where our intuition tells them they need to go, that will help them make those steps to connecting to the baby they have now.
You need a certain kind of surrender. There was a surrender at the orgasm. There might be a surrender in the birthing process. But this is so hard for us in our world. We want to control. Women and men, they want to have all the, even for very natural birth, even for humanized C-section, they want to have everything under control. If you want that, if a person wants that, they're going to be feeding the industry of Prozac and company, because we don't have the control on what we have not lived yet. And sometimes we need to tranquilize this, but to make them relax, surrender. There's no control.
Well, we can't make them do anything. Remember, because we can't impose all these things we wish we can do. Again, then we're just taking the place of someone who is kind of trying so hard to convince them. As soon as they feel that, they're going to have a checkout, not a check-in. So we really have to be careful when we're enthusiastic and passionate about our beliefs. You know, we believe that what we're teaching is good for them, but it's disrespectful, because first we have to really hear and see the person in front of us and know where they're at and meet them where they are. So we have people who, I mean, how can we expect anything else? The result of the culture we live in is that we are extremely mentally identified with our left brain hemisphere, because we need it, and it's excellent at planning things and organizing and understanding many things. So what we do when we're speaking and teaching, and what I teach professionals, is how to use symbolism and imagery and things where we can help open them up into more right hemisphere things so that there's a better balance. And the couple is actually so grateful that they have the excuse that they're doing it because, you know, the authority figure is telling them to do it, but they're also saying, I've always wanted to be able to just meditate or be in silence and feel these things, but I haven't known how. So we can actually, on that journey, we can bring in strategies that help them connect with that letting go, with that not having to control, because the control is, they actually are slaves to that control, because when they don't have it, they feel extremely anxious. So there's never a time in a couple's life where they are beginning to have to accept that they can't control everything, as when they're pregnant and about to have a baby and becoming parents, because the reality that they understand that they can't control things is a lot of times why they come to us. They want to control things. And so what we do is help them let go of that control. And that requires faith. faith,
It requires faith, and it's an extreme.
confidence, and self-esteem, and support, and many things. And so that's what we're going to try and surround them with, so that they can actually let go. Now, expecting them to do that, I myself know that that's quite difficult, but
Yes.
at least we can have the intention and be
But
aware.
Jenny,
Yeah,
you're doing something that goes way beyond birth, because this is one of
way
the
beyond birth, way beyond birth. Birth is actually
potential.
just the way to get them to us. And then what we give them are skills that are life skills. I mean, birth is just one part of it. And we can actually, you know how we all have, we remember in elementary school, we had a first grade teacher, third grade teacher who we never will forget, because that teacher, there was just something, you know, there's people in our lives that can leave a mark on us, a positive one or a negative one. And since during pregnancy, the woman is in such a sensitive state of, you know, this kind of psychic porous openness, that we have to be so careful of what we say, how we say it, nonverbal gestures, positioning. There's so many things, because all of this is just being absorbed. After the birth, at some point, she will begin to kind of close up that openness. And what will happen is she'll keep inside of her messages she got from authority figures mainly, that may not be good for her for the rest of her life. And so we have to be very careful to give her the right things that she carries within herself. So it's an amazing opportunity that we can use, and we have to be skillful at how we use our time, our language, how to create a sense of safety, how to include the partner, how to create a sense of unity and identity as a group. I mean, there's so much we can do, and it's not that complicated. It starts with our own awareness in ourselves. And once we can do that, then, you know, because the call is humanized birth, but it's, when you look at the obstetrical violence and things like this, what was really missing there? And what was missing was just a respectful treatment of the way the communication was during that period. They weren't explained to, they weren't asked permission, there wasn't informed consent. So much has to do with communication.
Yeah.
And
The birth professionals must love you, because you add a whole dimension. This human dimension allows for medicine to work. Even that.
well, no, they don't love me. They feel threatened by me.
Yeah, but then if they understand your message, because you're enabling them to be
Yes,
more who they really are.
yes.
So
Well, and I'm hopefully doing it in a way where I'm not judging them. I'm saying that it's natural that you act this way, because you have to sleep at night, and you have to come back into a system that doesn't allow you to connect for the reason they got into maternity health in the first place. And they must be so frustrated on not being able to show their own humanity. And so when you empower them, because many of them feel disempowered, and that's why they can't give what they don't have to give. When you respect them and you show them how important they are, and you are empathetic to them, instead of saying, you know, when are you guys gonna stop, you know, doing this and that, and being the bullies and the bad guys, you know. Granted, it seems like many act that way, but we have to go past our prejudice. We have to get to the person that's in front of us, and not the professional. And once we can get to the person, I often will tell couples when they say, you know, birth preferences and, you know, what are my rights and this and that, you know, if you can connect with the human being in front of you, the nurse, the midwife, the doctor, and you can connect on a person-to-person level, not on a person-to-professional level. You know, if the professional will show his person side and not just his professional side, then you know, things can happen in that space when there's, you know, that kind of connection. And so it's yes, it's everyone wants to connect more. on some level. And it is not that difficult to do. If you have the incentive, you feel it's important, and you know it will make a difference, it's that simple. You just have to want to.
It's that simple, but then it's a win-win situation. I mean, if I
Totally.
don't, as a person who comes to bring me a grilled cheese sandwich at the in an eatery, if I
Right,
look at that person as a person, not just
right,
as an object,
right.
I win and the person wins. And maybe there is a silent communication. It's a quick one,
Yes,
but I am back into being human, and life comes into me, and that
right.
person feels validated. There's hundreds of stories of beautiful things, interactions like that. So
Yeah.
imagine if you're giving birth, which is so much more important than asking for a grilled cheese sandwich. Yeah.
Right.
It is.
And so, yeah, seeing our work as a creative process. So I bring creativity into it all. I feel like every time we have a conversation, it's a creative process. Every
Yes.
time, and so we're only sharing a very minute part of what we actually know. And how do we know in that moment, what of all we know, what is the right thing to say at that moment? Because we've actually connected, and we can feel what that person most needs to hear that would be helpful. I mean, we can't program it. People will say, well, tell me what I'm going to learn in this course. It's like, it's a living thing. It's going to be, it's going to be flowing depending on what we're both feeling from each other. I mean, people don't want to hear that. They want to feel it's all,
Yeah.
very well planned, and it's going to be just as they think it will. And the first thing I do in my workshops is show them that they don't have control. We don't know what we're going to do, and that there are a lot of unexpected things. And because life is about flowing with the unexpected, because
Yeah.
there's so many, and that it's going to be okay. And that because as soon as they think they know what's coming, they check out. They're not interested anymore. It becomes very dull, and so you have to be creating curiosity, getting them participating, getting them to share. I always say in my classes, if I don't see tears and if I don't hear laughter, I'm not doing my job.
But nobody treated them like that in the university or in the training courses. The birth professionals were never seen as people. They were seen as, yeah, I'm going to put some information, some knowledge, some training, but who are you? And who are you regarding your own birth? And why do you really care about how somebody's going to be born? Each one will answer this question differently. So you're bringing them like some breathing room in their very profession they chose. And this is
Yeah.
beautiful, Jenny.
And, and no, it's wonderful. I mean, it's such a wonderful, yeah, I love my work so much. I've been able to do it my whole life. I mean, and there's also ways to explain things that become so clear. Um, that is, until we understand certain things, we keep going on, in my opinion, in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I use a lot of visual notation. I'm very analog. I want people to use their hands. I don't use any technology. It's this is what you see, and we have ourselves and our bodies, and we have this experience together. And there's a lot of respect involved, but it's a creative process. So it can be such a diverse and interesting experience. It's when we're boring our couples, that is such a shame, because time is, it's like we have this amazing opportunity. So yes, I think if we could understand things in a different way. I show basic ideas about birth anatomy, about why couples choose the birth they do. What's really going on behind the scenes. It's all these things that are what I call the invisibles. Until we understand the invisibles, we're just wasting time on the
True.
surface.
True.
So
And
when,
you
yeah,
are a dangerous person because the status quo doesn't want that, because these people are going to be able to even question certain things, and
yeah,
then comes the danger. They start thinking can be very disturbing, but it's so important. But you
exactly.
are a dangerous person, with a smile and understanding and embracing. You are empowering these professionals to be more of who they really are. And they're in for surprises,
Yeah.
gorgeous ones, so tough ones.
Yeah, well, the ego, we need the ego, but I often will show, I have many strategies that clarify things in a very visual, simple way. And one of them is called the continuum. And I talk about the biomedical side and the naturalistic alternative side, and the extremes on both sides, and what they think about the other side. Now, I know it's very left brain thinking to put things in black and white, but using that as a model, then I work into the gray areas and the middle sections. But what we end up realizing is that the extremes are basically exactly the same. Uh,
What a
and
surprise! What a
yeah,
surprise!
what a surprise. And everything they can't stand about the other side, they're doing themselves. So
Yeah.
we have the doulas and the lactation consultants and the many wonderful, fantastic new birth professionals that have just come into the humanized birth movement, and they're very excited about having an impact, a positive impact on the birthing world. But oftentimes they're very proud of their empathy, but we need more than that. We also have to have skills that keep us grounded. We have to be rooted. We can't just be totally in the world of magic and those things. Those exist, but we have to be well rounded as any professional. And so I try and show, where are we and how can we get more in the middle? Because most women don't want to be in the extremes. They want to be in the middle. They want some biomedical so that they feel safe, and they want to feel that it's an emotional and it's a spiritual experience. But they need a combination of that, and a lot of us have become one or the other. So it's about showing the gray areas.
Bilingual, as Michel Audin said, intuition and science have to
Mm,
dance. And at the beginning, it's a little bit awkward because it seems mutually exclusive, and it is not.
it's not. Yeah,
Not.
exactly.
And there are, I see, for instance, in France, either your talk is from the spiritual standpoint, very validated, or from the scientific. They never mix. Then you
Right.
take a plane, you go for 10 hours, 12 hours flight, you get to New Delhi, and you have a wonderful scientific conference about birth that includes epigenetics and extraordinary research and lots of readings from the Garbo from the Upanishad, for them on the same afternoon, in the same round table. They pay respect to every kind of knowledge because for
Mm.
them it's a whole. So we could, in our Western world, learn about it. We are humans, and we are complete beings. Why not to play around this plenitude
Yeah.
when we are professionals?
Right. And oftentimes we will teach giving, and so much is our own experience. So there we have to do a lot of like understanding why we were even drawn to this field and what is it we're trying to do. And oftentimes it's healing our own wounds, no?
Yeah.
Um, and that we have to be aware of. We're projecting when we're teaching. But so much of this is trying to see what the person in front of us is asking of us, and we're trying to reflect in them what they themselves are having a hard time seeing. So it's I mean, oftentimes we will give an image that is either too idealized or too horrific,
Yeah.
and we need to come into the middle, and we want to talk about, I feel that we should be wowing our couples with the miraculous things we know now about what's happening in the neuro, immuno, psycho biology. It's just so incredible that if you don't have your couple's mouths open
Yeah.
with what's going on, then you are also not really reaching that part of them that does believe in things that are bigger than ourselves. I mean, it is extraordinary what's happening. And
But you touched upon something like, why did I choose such a profession? And you remind me of the teachers, school teachers, primary grade teachers. Very often, these were the most unhappy kids at school. They want to do something, but they're not fully conscious of all the reasons, and they might be repeating some of the stuff they wanted so much to avoid when they were little. So consciousness and courage can make all the difference for a professional to really
It's
enjoy.
true. And in the workshops with professionals, it is so, I mean, it's so humbling because you see this kind of validation finally happening, and it's as they connect with each other as a group and they remember what it was that made them want to even get into the field, and how, you know, they've had no place to deposit kind of their frustrations, and they just need skills and someone to give them those skills, and they're so happy to learn them. I mean, it's so amazing. Anytime I have you know, interest in my work, it's like it's an incredible opportunity for me, but it's so humbling and amazing. I'm going to be going to Uruguay and working in hospitals and with different groups of professionals, and it's, for me, I just ask to be, you know, to channel, to be in the right place where I can really be of service on some way. But I'm very practical. That's probably what makes me different. I really go way past the theoretical and enter into the practical world, and we do so much hands-on actions that integrated and have show a way to express it. I have something called, you know, connection postures, and they're so simple. You know, if you just stand back to back with another human being and you feel their body along your spinal column, and you're connecting on certain spots, and your hands may or may not touch the other's hands, and you feel their head and the warmth of their body and your feet on the ground, and you just stand there. Most couples will want instructions. Now what do we do? How long do we stand here? And you don't give them any, and they have to just kind of find their own, you know, what does it mean to them? And oftentimes it's that simple.
Wow.
To get something internal to just start to move. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
No, this is great. And there is this Latin American Center for Perinatology in Uruguay, in Montevideo. You're going to be with these people there, because they're a research center that the whole world knows about them, from the hardcore medicine and.
I mean, I'm working with I'm tengo que traducirlo en español. I don't know what they're called in English, but
because in English it's the bad word for gonorrhea, so I don't like saying it, but it's the CLAP. Centro Latinoamericano de Perinatología.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you some contacts there.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great.
Wow. And the world needs to know. And how come, Jenny, to arrive on Earth, to be born, and to depart by dying, is something we have done since the very beginning, and we're still trying to figure out humanized dying, humanized birth, and it's based on respect, not just empathy, but also in all my skills to be there, and my understanding, my knowledge, my insights, and it cannot be duplicated, and it's new every time. Every time it's new.
Yeah, we're unique beings, and we're all on a journey trying to make sense of, trying to give meaning to our lives, and all of us offer different means of understanding, and for the one who, you know, there's that word resonates with what we can offer, and it goes both ways. You know, it goes so much both ways. It's no, it's a beautiful thing. So if professionals, you know, I admire them, I respect them. I just feel oftentimes they need to be validated and given the skills that help them connect, because I do feel in my heart that that is what they really do want to do.
Yes, connection. The mother connecting with the baby, the professional, even with the baby. They say babies choose their doulas. Babies choose somehow. It's almost impossible not to talk about it. How come I ended up here? I was supposed to be there, but something made me go that day. It's almost as if there had been a guidance, and we're not used to be guided.
Well, when we, oftentimes people need the science. All science is doing is verifying what we already always knew. But anyway, it gives us, it's very, very helpful. So when we just talk about fertilization, you know, the moment of yeah, I'm thinking in Spanish, of fecundación, so when we talk about how the egg lasts approximately 24 hours, and so time is of the essence, and in that period, it's hoping, it's programmed, it's wanting to meet with the sperm that will fertilize the egg, and that the many fast and strong sperm will come and surround the egg, but the egg will not necessarily let down that barrier and allow that egg to penetrate, the sperm to penetrate, and that there's a waiting for a certain one, and that when it finds it, and then when you tell that to couples, I mean, it's just so amazing. And you say that, and you always mention the baby with the baby's name, so you say that's why Francisco. Francisco, it had to be Francisco. Francisco was the one that both of you, were calling that. And when you show that it wasn't just random, it's like, it's so beautiful. It just opens up their whole view. And from the very beginning of my classes, I asked them the question that you mentioned earlier, is it even important the way we're born? And if it is, then what way of being born is best? And for who? Because it's different what's best for the doctor's opinion than the mother, than the husband, than the in-laws, than the, all these things. And what does the baby say? And what if the baby can talk? And the baby does talk, you're just not listening. What is the baby telling you? What does the baby need? What does the baby say about how to be born? And when they focus all of a sudden on themselves as caretakers, and then as protectors of the right of the baby to be heard, oh my God, then you don't have to do anything else in the course, because they're already now on a whole different path.
Yeah, you remind me of Michel Audin, who traveled the world visiting hospitals, and he would always asks questions, and he had extraordinary experiences, but there's one question that he always asked. He was in China, he was in Russia, anywhere. What do you do with breech babies? And there were many answers, but one would always come back, was always the main one. Talk to the baby. We're talking about completely different hospitals, tiny ones, huge ones. Talk to the baby. So it's something, what you just said, we know that. It's possible to interact with that baby. If we dare, there will be different experiences awaiting for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So what the Prenatal Alliance does, it's so important. It's first we have to create a space where the couple gives us permission to proceed and try and create that openness and connection, so that they can then continue feeling this relationship is there. And then
you give them permission to give themselves permission. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. And it's all often nonverbal. We have to be sensing and feeling, observing what's in front of us. There's so much that's going on that's intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jenny.
Oh, Laura, my pleasure.
This talk has opened so many possible themes and subjects to explore. But thank you for your work and the joy with which you bring it. It's already very inspiring. And
thank you for inviting me, Laura, so much. And we'll do it again in Spanish another day.
Yes, we'll do that in Spanish. This is wonderful. And God bless your work, and thank you.
We'll